Welcome back to another edition of the Night Report podcast. I'm your host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again are my co-hosts, Richie O'Leary and Alec Krauthamel. This podcast is presented by FanDuel. Excited to get back into the swing of camp here. Few things we want to talk about. Rutgers added a wide receiver in the transfer portal who we don't expect to make a huge impact, but Richie will talk about how he ended up at Rutgers. Few player interviews over the past few days we want to talk about. The guys spoke to KJ Duff, Colin Weber, the new safety Chris Joines, Bo Mascoe. Talk about the highlights of what they said. And Bruce Feldman released his annual Freaks list for college football. We'll go into who Rutgers is playing on that list and if any Rutgers players made the list. And also preview the scrimmage for this Saturday, the first scrimmage of camp. But let's start off at the top. Rutgers added a wide receiver and kick return specialist in former Northern Illinois wide receiver Dane Pardridge. 2 years of eligibility left. Rich, how did Rutgers add a guy this late in the process, and do you expect him to make any sort of impact this year?
So there was a temporarily issued one-time portal entry for guys that were basically just like designated student athletes, and he was able to enter. He entered in a couple days ago from Northern Illinois. I think it was technically the 2nd, and then he committed on the 5th. Now, a lot of people on social media are seeing when his name officially goes into the portal, and then when he commits. And his name officially entered the portal yesterday at like 10 a.m. But once you declare that you're entering, you're allowed to talk to schools. So I know a lot of people on social media are like, Rutgers tampered. Like a lot of the fans of the lower level schools. Like I saw a Texas State guy today tag us in a tweet, and he was like, you got to stop these big money schools from poaching people. And I'm like, all right, buddy, I don't know what we're talking about here. Big money, but weird flex. But
yeah, definitely not what I would describe Rutgers as.
Yeah, tag Charlie Baker, tagged NCAA, and I'm like this is like an okay like thing. Like this kid wanted out, he wanted to go play somewhere, and might get that chance at Rutgers. Now,
might as well tag the FBI at that point.
I mean, right? Yeah, it's kind of crazy. He's a little bit of a smaller receiver, 5'11", 185, from Illinois. I wanted to look back and see if he knew Ethan or Dino, I guess I should say too, because he's from Illinois. I don't know how close in Illinois he is to where's Ethan and Dino from
Antioch.
Antioch.
Yeah.
This kid is from Marmion Academy. So either way, he does know a former Rutgers player though, and Eric Rogers. Two played together at Northern Illinois. He actually asked Eric about Rutgers before even committing, and Eric gave obviously rave reviews because now he's in NFL. And it sounds like he's got a good shot at making the roster too, which is kind of impressive for an undrafted free agent guy. One of the highest PFF grades on the team in their preseason game the other day. But Pardridge is an interesting scenario because he he played in 24 games over the past 2 seasons, redshirted year 1 back in 2022. Not a ton of receptions, 28 for 340 and 3 touchdowns. Most of that was last year, as he was the team's leading returning receiver this upcoming season. But that doesn't really mean much with the way the transfer portal works and all that other stuff, because they did lose some guys to graduation, to the portal. And so he was also their main punt returner, not their kick returner. And he had 20 returns for 152 yards and 1 touchdown. I think that was all last year, actually. Now, he didn't return kicks for the team, but he has been, I think I take it back. He actually returned 1 kick, but it was like for a fair catch. And then, no, I'm sorry, 2 kicks. 1 was a fair catch and 1 was a 15-yard return. So he is kind of a return guy. His dad specifically was one of the better returners in program history at Northern Illinois. Led the conference with 483 kick return yards in 1985, helped them win a MAC championship, was also a receiver, did a little bit of rushing too, and was a 6th-round draft pick. So he's got the bloodlines. He's got the it's honestly, it's a depth piece. There's really no other way to put it. Like, he is a depth piece. He's going to fill in the slot. He can't really play the outside at all. He's going to fill in as a punt returner from time to time, and he's going to fill in on special teams in general. He seems like he's a little bit of a special teams ace, and this is a guy that will get on the field. How much will he see the field? I don't really know. Special teams wise, I think he might see the field a lot more than we think. I don't know if he'll be used as a punt returner, because I know Greg Schiano said in one of the Sirius XM interviews at Big Ten Media Days that they think Sheffield's probably going to be the guy there. But who knows? I mean, maybe if you want to just fair catch it, you throw that guy out. If you really want to go for something, get a little bit more explosiveness, you throw Sheffield out there. So that was a whole lot of nothing about a guy that we really know nothing about too. So,
well, you reported that he's heard from over 50 schools in that short period of time when he entered the portal as a DSA. And can you talk about what a DSA is? Because that's like a fairly new term with revenue sharing. How do you get a DSA status, and what does that mean when you do get DSA in terms of your ability to move from team to team?
So it is a designated student athlete. This was one of the rules that they had to come to an agreement upon with the judge in the revenue sharing case in the House settlement, for the sole fact that the judge was so against this 105 limit being inputted immediately, as a lot of kids would have just got screwed over. So now a lot of programs have designated players as student athletes, which basically means they just don't count towards the 105. For the most part, you can kind of look throughout rosters and figure out who's DSA and who's not. But then it gets a little bit more difficult with like other schools when you only have, say, 90, 95 scholarship kids. It's like, okay, who's DSA, who's not? It's just a whole weird, complicated process. But for the most part, these kids don't count towards your 105 rosters. So when a kid like this, who has eligibility left multiple years, who has experience at the G5 level on a decent Northern Illinois team, I'm not going to say they're the best in the world or the worst in the world, but they took down Notre Dame last year, and Notre Dame was in the finals. So, so when you have a guy like that and he's not going to count towards my roster, I think you'd be crazy not to try to add him. So that's why a lot of schools saw him jump in the portal, and they're like, holy shit, like, let's reach out to this kid. Like, why not? Worst comes to worst, he doesn't count. So it's depth. Like, yep. It makes a lot of sense from Rutgers' perspective to take a chance on him. And you kind of have a little bit of a, I guess, playing time played a factor here too, because there is an opening at backup slot. Now, in an ideal world, knock on wood, you never have to use the backup slot. But in some case scenarios where you might have to, because as we saw last year, injuries do happen, freak injuries specifically. So you never know. He might see the field a little bit more than we think. Maybe he'll see some garbage time. He's produced. I don't think he's really that bad of a receiver. And if you watch like a little bit of his clips, like his dad posted a little Twitter clip of him just running routes in one-on-one situations in practice, he's like carving up DBs. Is it DBs 2 and 3 on the roster for NIU? Probably, but it's still impressive nonetheless.
Yeah, so he'll be a quality depth piece, a guy who's got a lot of experience, a guy who's, got vouching for him by former players. So again, similar to the Austin Dean addition at linebacker, if this player ends up playing a ton, it's probably not a good sign, but that doesn't mean he's not a good player. It's just he's got to learn a whole new system too, and it's a crash course. I mean, obviously he's been at Northern Illinois for a while, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's easy to kind of plug and play, even though you're just a little bit older. Alec, anything about Dean that you wanted to touch on before we kind of transition to the next topic here?
Yeah, kind of going off that, the thing I'm interested in is how early he gets on the field, because like you mentioned, I mean, you're coming in midway through training camp. There's a lot to learn. I mean, even some of the guys that came in the spring, things like that, they're still adjusting as well. So I think that adjustment period is going to be interesting to see how it actually goes for him, and how quickly he's able to kind of grasp the whole playbook and the scheme and all that, and where he fits on the field, whether that's on special teams or whether that's, on, playing actual offense at wide receiver. So that's what I'm most interested in. Again, if it doesn't count against your rosters, then, why not at that point? Because he has that pedigree as a punt returning guy. I did look it up. So his ESPN bio lists his hometown as DeKalb, Illinois. And then he went to Marmion Academy in Aurora, so kind of not too far outside Chicago. It's a brisk 7-hour drive from Antioch in Illinois, which is like almost at the border of Illinois and Wisconsin at the north end. Yeah, so I would be surprised if him and the two Kaliakmanis brothers were familiar. But it's weird. It's like Aurora and DeKalb are really not that far south in Illinois. They're like pretty much like just west of Chicago. And it takes 6 hours to get there. That's how big Illinois is, which I'm just stumbling upon now. It's kind of crazy.
Learn a very long state, but pretty narrow. So, all right. So that's all we got on the Dane Pardridge. Dane Pardridge. Jesus.
Yeah, it's messed me up 4 times when typing.
Well, I got Austin Dean in my head now, and I know I just said Dean when I meant Dane.
And there's Dino, there's Dean, there's Dane. I got a text message the other day that said, "Oh, Dame Pardridge," and I'm like, Jesus, just stop. Like,
let's talk about some of the interviews from this past week. Since our last podcast, you guys spoke to KJ Duff, Colin Weber, Chris Joines, and Bo Mascoe. I'll let you guys kind of take this. What were some things that stood out to you about what any of those guys said? Alec, I'll let you start.
I mean, thinking back to it, I thought it was interesting. Colin Webb, when Richie was talking to Colin Weber, I thought he asked a good question of, some of the just straight raw numbers kind of went down from year to year at Charlotte. I guess kind of what went into that and things like that. I thought he had a good answer of it. A lot of it was just the receiver talent year by year. They also were dealing with a coaching change at one point. As well. So I thought it was interesting to hear him go in depth in that. And it was interesting to hear Colin Weber kind of go in depth in a lot of things. Another one of the interesting things that he mentioned, he doesn't really like to, set those kinds of personal goals. Just how can I help the team win is what he said multiple times in that interview. Hearing from both Bo Mascoe and Kaj Sanders as those guys are still fairly young guys. Granted, Bo is in his third year of the program. Obviously Sanders is second, but they're pretty much the elder statesmen, at least in terms of Rutgers experience in their position group. So it was interesting to hear them talk about taking on a bit of a leadership role for them. I thought it was cool to hear KJ Duff talking about his relationship with Ian Strong, which is something that Ian talked about with the Big Ten Media Days, how they were really close in high school and they lived in the same apartment last year, and just a lot of little tidbits. Obviously we're not going to hear too much in depth from a lot of guys at this point in training camp, or I guess maybe ever, because that's just kind of how it goes. They're not going to say too much. That's just kind of how Rutgers rolls. They're not going to put out bulletin board material or anything like that. But it's some of those little nuggets that you may not be expecting to hear. I thought were pretty interesting.
I think even for Shiano, it seems like this year's training camp is especially buttoned up. So take from that what you will.
Makes you wonder.
Does make you wonder. Rich, how about you? You were there for a lot of these interviews. What was something that somebody said that stood out to you from either KJ Duff, Colin Weber, Bo Mascoe, or Chris Joines?
Well, piggybacking off of what we just were talking about a little bit, wondering, there's no fan fest this year. Maybe he doesn't want anyone seeing the team. I'm just saying.
If you had to guess why that would be, what would your guess be?
He's super secretive with everything, and he wants to make sure if he has a really good team, it's more of I don't want anyone to know about it.
Wants it to be a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing stopping the lowest of low-level assistants from, say, Maryland to show up to FanFest and just watch. Stuff like that has happened before. Even the low-level assistants, mind you, I guess I could put this out here now. A couple years ago, the year before they played Syracuse, one of the low-level guys on the coaching staff, we're not talking assistants, we're talking the assistants of the assistants, the guys that do the grunt work, reached out to Syracuse and was like, hey, this is what they're going to do if they're on the goal line. This is what they're going to do if they're here. Needless to say, that guy is no longer with the program, but I think he was let go pretty quickly after that. But every low-level assistant, that happens everywhere in all of college football. It's just guys trying to get a leg up in the world. If I can move up in the world in college football by feeding, say, I don't even know who the coach was, Dino Babers, a little tidbit about Rutgers, maybe he'll hire me next year for a better role and give me more money. Because these guys are making 40, 50K. It's not they're working their ass off 12 hours a day, for 40, 50K. It's miserable work. But you're coaching college football, so it's really cool. Either way, anyway, back to what I was saying. I would say I don't want to use Colin Weber again because Alec basically just broke down everything he said. I do think, for what it's worth, I think getting Colin Weber in the middle of the week is probably telling me that he's probably going to start. So don't be shocked by that one. We also posted an article earlier this week that he ranked On3 ranked him the 21st best tight end in the country. So again, Don't be surprised if he starts. Kaj Sanders was very well spoken. I think he learned a lot from his mistakes last year, and rightfully so. It takes a lot for a man to admit that willingly and openly that they made mistakes, because he did take some shitty angles last year. He did miss a couple tackles last year. He was just in the wrong position at times. He was a true freshman, so you let it slide. We got Chris Joines the other day. Don't expect him to start, but expect him to play. I thought that was interesting to talk to him about his journey. He said it was just as simple as just Rutgers reaching out, and he just simple as that. Like, he wanted to go to the Big Ten level, and it goes to show you that conference still does matter, especially when you're in the Big Ten and SEC, and it's a leg up on everyone else. Even the lower level guys are like, hey, I could get a chance to play there. So that played a big factor. Then when he got to campus, he obviously realized there's a bunch of North Carolina dudes like himself there, and he's like, oh shit, like, cool, easy to connect there. KJ Duff looks significantly stronger and bigger, and just looks like a totally different player from his freshman year. I think he'll have a big year. Who else? Ryder Langsdale we talked about. I feel like I talked to someone else the other day. Bo Mascoe. He seems like he's just ready. He'll be starting this year. I'd be shocked if he wasn't, to be honest. Looks like they're going to go 3 corners this year instead of 3 safeties, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Oh, wow. That is.
I mean, it's just a flip-flop of last year. Just because you had more safeties last year, you had more corners this year. Who starts the nickel is the big question mark for me, because Mascale's played snaps in the nickel, so is Henderson, and then you have Al-Shadi Salam, who could probably play the nickel or the outside. So there's kind of a little bit of a competition there, but we'll wait and see what happens. That's really it, though. There hasn't been a lot of significant quotes from guys this training camp, and is that done by design? Probably, but just a very blah training camp, very boring. I've also noticed the team hasn't tweeted out a single video clip this training camp, which is kind of wild.
That is interesting, and this segues beautifully into what's going to happen today. Big Ten Network is currently at Rutgers for their training camp tour stop. Mm-hmm. There's going to be stuff on social media posted throughout the day, so you can follow the drip campaign there, or the program itself will air tonight, August 6th, if you're listening to this on Wednesday, at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So that will be a full hour, wall-to-wall Rutgers. They do a really good job with that. Last year, they talked to both coordinators. I think they talked to Ethan. They talked to Greg. Mm-hmm. They get the best access by far of any media group at Rutgers in training camp. So if you are looking for the closest thing to Hard Knocks for Rutgers, this is basically as good as it's going to get all summer. So it's, in my opinion, must-watch TV. If you can't watch it live, record it on your whatever service you use, because it's always one of the things I look forward to most in training camp.
If you can't watch it live, there's a 100% chance I will be clipping the fuck out of it later today. I'm just posting it all over social media regardless. So just follow us at Rutgers on 3 or any other social media platform, basically.
So yeah, definitely don't miss that. Final thing I have is Bruce Feldman, like I said, released his Freaks list this week. And while Rutgers, sad to report, does not have any current players on the list, they do have one former player on the list, which is kind of interesting.
Crazy.
Ball State's edge rusher, Micah Wing, who was a walk-on at Rutgers. I think he was here for 2 or 3 years, left the program. He primarily played special teams, but he has just some gaudy numbers. I can read his write-up here if anyone is interested. Let me just pop that link back up. But you guys want to just talk about like the opponents Rutgers will be facing, because Rutgers is going to be facing a lot of guys on this freak list this year.
I actually have a little tidbit about Micah Wing, and he used to get really mad at all the reporters because when he came in, he was a preferred walk-on. Mm-hmm. And everyone labeled him as a preferred walk-on. And he was just pissed. He's like, I'm not a preferred walk-on. I made it on. Because technically he had a scholarship early on in the cycle and then didn't commit quick enough. And then it was like, okay, well, do you still want to go here? If you want to, you have to do the preferred walk-on route. And he was just pissed, man. Like, he would message me, he'd message other guys on the beat. And it was just funny. And now he's on the freaks list.
Yeah, I could have sworn that he had like a Penn State offer at one point. It was Penn State lean. So he comes in at 92nd on the freaks list, which is 101 players deep. Just read what they said about him. Michael Wing, Ball State edge rusher. Ball State has one of the freakiest specialists on the roster in kicker Brady Bohm, a transfer from Missouri who vertical leaped 41 inches. But in wing, they have a guy who almost jumped as high. He has a 39.7-inch vertical leap and weighs 40 pounds more. The 6'2", 233-pound redshirt junior who started his college career at Rutgers, also broad jumped 10.4.5 this offseason. And the strength coach at Ball State said, Micah is an edgy pass rusher with a high motor and huge explosive ability to go along with it. His performance is a result of the intensity he brings day in and day out. That's the only guy directly connected with Rutgers, but the Freaks list is not kind for Rutgers in terms of the opponents they'll be facing. Of the top 11, Rutgers will be facing 6 of the top 11 on the Freaks list, also 10 of the top 30. There are 6 opponents that have a Freaks list guy. Ohio State has 2. Iowa has 3. Surprisingly, has 3. Minnesota has 1. Oregon has 2. Illinois has 1. Penn State, leader in the clubhouse here with 5 players on the Freaks list. Anybody you guys want to highlight from the list and speak about at any length? I mean, for me, the obvious one is Jeremiah Smith, the Ohio State receiver, comes in at number 1. Last year, he had one of the best seasons ever for a freshman wide receiver, and the numbers that he puts up for a guy who's 19 years old, I would estimate right now. 11-foot broad jump, 38 vertical leap, 23.5 mile per hour maximum GPS reading on the field, and 20 reps at 225 pounds. And this is while he's 6'3.5", 223 pounds himself. Just an insane athlete.
I mean, I heard someone say the other day, and I forget what it was. It was a national writer or analyst, and he said, he's like, I think it was Brett McMurphy, actually. New on 3, Brett McMurphy.
Welcome to the team.
Yeah. He said something like Jeremiah Smith would have been a top 5 pick in this past year's drafts as a true freshman. Like, that's insane to think about that. Yeah. Like, that's how good this kid is, and he's still here for 2 more fucking years.
I know. It's insane.
I just thought it was
I don't think it's
funny.
hyperbole either.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. I thought it was kind of funny and also on brand that Iowa's 3 submissions on the list were their starting center, who was at number 7, their starting guard, who's at number 22, and then one of those just thumper linebackers that they have at number 50. It's basically, I mean, it may be surprising because they're always like, ground and pound and things like that, but for an Iowa like Freaks list, it checks out.
Yeah, they're going to be tough to stop this year, it seems. I think they're underrated a bit, and when we get into like our season preview and projections, I think they'll be a team that might be better than expected this year.
I think Penn State having as many as they do, and people don't want to hear this, this is probably the best team on paper in college football this year, and it makes sense based on not just a Freaks list, but you can go past any top rankings list for every position group. Like, they're just going to be a real threat for the national championship. Mind you, they have a head coach who really hasn't been able to win a big game, so take it for what it's worth.
Yeah, and I think these lists, they're not like these are the 100 best players in college football. It's just these are the freakiest athletes in college football. So I do want to put that caveat in there. Just because you're a great athlete doesn't necessarily mean you're a good football player. Just because you're a bad athlete doesn't mean you're a bad football player. But Rich, you used to cover Penn State, obviously. They have 5 guys on this list. I'll run them past you. Talk to me about the one that jumps out at you the most. So number
Zane
8 on
Durant.
the list, Zane Durant. All right, that was easy.
I don't even know who's on the list, but it's Zane Durant by far.
So why is he such a standout that it was an immediate answer for you?
He is just such a freaky, athletic defensive tackle. He's a little bit on the smaller side, and it's a big reason why he didn't leave for the NFL. He could have left for the NFL and been late, like round pick, but he's just that freaky. He's got like Kenneth Kirksey's athleticism at defensive tackle, if you remember him doing backflips in the end zone for Rutgers, but he's producing at such a higher rate. I don't know how to define it or anything, but like, he was a track star. He was a shot put guy in high school. He does everything, and he's just one of the most athletic guys on the team. He's got speed to him for his size. Like, his combine numbers are going to be freaky, but then when people see the height, they're kind of like turned off a little bit. But when you see him run a 40, when you see him bench press a crazy amount of reps, it's just going to be like, holy shit, like, this might be a day 2 pick. And I hesitate to say day 1 just because the size thing, the height thing really bothers people. And I get it. But then you go back and look, like, Aaron Donald was a freak, like, and he was pretty small. So he is just very, very talented. It's him by far. And I'm sure there's guys like Nick Singleton on the list and KJ Allen, if I had to guess. AJ Harris is probably up there. And I don't even know who the 5th one would be.
So the 5 that they have were Zane Durant, Khalil Dinkins, the tight end,
Stinks.
Elliott Washington, the corner, Tony Rojas, the linebacker, Nick Singleton, and Zane Durant. Those are the 5.
Tony Rojas is interesting, but he needs to learn football IQ. He's still struggling a little bit there. But yeah, no, not covering that anymore, just so everyone knows. I'm pretty sure we emphasized that a couple times already.
You're no longer uniquely qualified. You're just regular qualified.
Yeah. Of course, the year that, they might win it all, it's like, fuck you, buddy.
Yeah.
Not that it matters, but I don't think they'll win it all because Rutgers has a game against them in late November, and it's home, so you never know.
Yeah, no, that's going to be a tough game for Rutgers, but you just got to hope. Penn State's playing 5 games in 5 weeks leading into that game.
Mm-hmm.
Or it'll be the 5th game in 5 weeks, rather. I said this on I think it was the Big Ten Huddle or one of the pods I joined recently. I think this is the year that Rutgers gets some kind of sneaky upset win over a ranked opponent. I don't have the team specifically. It just kind of feels like all the alchemy pieces are lining up that it'll actually happen this year. It's kind of all I got. You guys have anything else you wanted to touch on before we head out?
Got one thing. I can pop it up.
Shoot. Oh, look at that. Is that from today?
Yep, from literally 7 minutes ago.
Nice.
So
yeah, I know she put a tweet out today that said like day 1, go RU.
Yeah, so today I know people are like, well, she's been on the job for a week. Like, no, she hasn't technically. Like, she had to move some things up here, number one. Like, you can't just like, yeah, I got all my stuff in Louisiana. Screw it. I don't need it. I'll buy new stuff. No, like, you need to like take some time. She went back home. Came back. I find there's a couple things interesting here. Number one, she's at football practice, of course. Her and Greg are going to talk. Number 2, you can see Matthew Colagiovanni in the background. So I wonder if he ends up keeping a role with the athletic department. Wouldn't shock me. I mean, he's been there for 25 years or something like that. So
yeah,
not super, super shocking, but yeah, it's something to monitor. Curious what they're talking about here. Maybe his indoor practice facility that still hasn't been built, but who knows? But yeah, that's pretty much all I got.
For those who are just listening, it's a series of pictures of new athletic director Kelly Zinn at football practice today, talking to Greg Schiano. All right, well, I guess that's all we've got. We will have a pod tomorrow to talk about everything that happened on the Big Ten Network Camp Stop Tour for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Just want to repeat again, this podcast is presented to you by FanDuel. The odds have kind of started to shift in Rutgers' favor. I noticed this when the line initially came out for the Ohio game. Rutgers was a 10.5 point favorite. They're now an 11.5 point favorite, which kind of bodes well for Rutgers. It's not always the end all be all, but if you actually want to get some US dollars down on that game before the game actually happens, you're going to have to go to either New York or Pennsylvania, because unfortunately you cannot bet on the Scarlet Knights in the state of New Jersey due to New Jersey state law. So just wanted to put that PSA out there.
Stupid law.
It's dumb. I agree. But yeah, so for me, Richie and Alec, this has been another edition of the Night Report podcast, signing off.